Awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's get started, everybody. So I have with me today, this is such a wonderful opportunity because my friend and partner, Rolf Jacobs, is here with us. So thank you for being here, Rolf. And Rolf pretty much is the owner of Inspire Property Experts, which is a uh, real estate company that works specifically with buyers. They are award winning. They're based in Barcelona, okay? And they help people buy in Spain. So this webinar is specifically going to be about the housing market in Spain, how that works, how this can actually be you. I'm actually in the process of buying in Barcelona, so it's been super eye-opening to see how all of this works. And also, we're going to be covering a lot of misconceptions. You're going to have a lot of light bulb moments. Raf is going to share with us pretty much everything you need to know, okay? But at the end, we are going to have a live Q&A. So if everybody can, if you have personalized questions, please save those for the end because we will be able to do like a live Q&A, okay? But to start, I just want to first introduce you. Thank you so much for being here today, Raf. And yeah, tell us a little
Thank you
bit
for
more
having
about
me.
you and your business.
Right, great. Hi, Shauna. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining. Um, Raf Jacobs, I'm originally from Belgium, but I moved to Spain in 2001. It's nearly 25 years ago. My wife is Spanish. My kids grow up here. They have dual nationalities, Belgium and Spanish. Before moving to Spain, I studied and worked in Munich, in Germany. And so think pretty, I consider myself a very European profile. And after over a decade in the corporate world, working for American companies, I was at Accenture for many years. I decided to create Inspire Property Experts. And we 100% focus on helping international clients find and buy the best possible properties in Spain. And all clients they turn to us for a very simple reason. They want a plan and they want security. And I think I will cover a lot about uh, how you can approach your some people will be early in the journey, I'm sure, maybe just thinking of could I do this? Other people might be actively looking at properties or looking at relocating already. So I will try and use different examples and make it as tangible as possible. And if you have questions, please drop them in the group.
Perfect.
Um,
And we're curious to know in the chat who's actually looking at buying in the next year. You can put 1 year in the chat. What about in the next, let's say 3 years? Put 3 years in the chat. We're just trying to see who's actually in a place to buy. And also, what are your guys' preferences? We'd love to know like what you're actually looking for, just so we can see in the chat while we do a little chit chat here. Awesome. Well, I wanted us, before we jump into the juicy details of the housing pieces, I see a lot of people 6 months, 3 years, 2 years, Darcy, Linnell apartment or duplex is what she's looking for. Nice. Sid says 1 year. So I think these are pretty good timelines. Good. I wanted us to, I want to know, Raf, like, why did you choose Spain? Because a lot of people are in that decision process where they're actually moving abroad. Why Spain before we jump into like more of the housing questions that I have for you?
well, it's a very personal story, and I moved to Germany in 1999. I was studying there, an exchange program. I met my current wife there. She is Spanish, so that was for me the trigger. We didn't move. We stayed in Germany first, but then after, here is the point. After a summer holiday in Barcelona and in the coast south from Barcelona, we realized like, why are we actually living and working in Munich? We, if we could actually also work and live and have a good life, probably better life, I think, in Spain. And that's what made us decide to move to Spain in 2001.
It's such a cliche thing because that's what happened to
Yeah,
me is I
it's life.
I just love the people, the weather, the vibe, the ease of lifestyle and you can be outside all the time. I think that's the beautiful
Yeah.
thing about specifically Barcelona. If anybody has been to Barcelona, put Barcelona in the chat. We'd love to know if you've been there. And so I think for why others should move there, it's just a great place. If you want a place that's close to the sea, we literally can be at the beach and then take a bus or a train, the metro, or like go up to the mountain. We can be there in 30 minutes. So we can be at the beach swimming, obviously dry off might take 5 or 10 minutes, but then going for a hike in the mountains behind Barcelona, it's super nice to have all of that nature. The other thing we really like is we have really good access to all the different European cities. So the airport is super, super close to the city center. Takes about 20 minutes to get to the airport. So you can jump on a quick flight and be anywhere in Europe. Um, I love that you can be in Ibiza in 30 minutes. You can be at the islands in 30 minutes. The flight is literally 30 minutes, and you can be on an island. The other thing I love, Roth, which I don't know if you guys do this, is to go skiing and going up to the mountains.
Yep.
Do you guys go up to
I go on Friday.
go on Friday? Nice. Are you going
Yeah.
to Andorra or the Pyrenees?
Pyrenees, French
Nice.
Pyrenees actually, about two hour drive,
Yeah,
and you're up there on the
that's what's
slopes.
beautiful too, is you can be in France in 2 hours. Yeah,
Yep.
awesome. Well, I want to, before we lead into your presentation, and again, for those that are just trickling in, we will have a live Q&A at the end, so definitely save your questions for that. There's a lot of misconceptions about buying in Spain. The first one I want to bring up is the fact that a lot of people think that they have to be a resident to buy. And this is just not true. You can buy right now living in the United States or wherever you're from, Canada, wherever, you can buy right now and you can actually still get a mortgage. So I just want to throw that out there because a lot of people think that they have to actually be a resident or a citizen. That is one of the most frequently asked questions I get. Are there any other misconceptions that Americans tend to have about buying Roth before we jump into the presentation?
There's probably some, but to support your comment, about half of our customers are non-residents. It's a bit more than half of the clients. Meaning that and the largest group are North Americans. So what you said is absolutely right. You can probably buy a property from any other country in the world. You need a few admin requirements, but it's basic stuff for us. That's like an NIE number, bank account, but that's really simple. Um, you can get a mortgage. Some people have questions or concerns regarding, but if I own a property, can I rent it out or can I sell it again? So? Yes, once you own a property, it's really you leave it empty, you live there, you rent it out, you sell it again. It's really your decision.
Yeah,
And there is also, I think, one misconception, and that's partially due to the media in the last year. There was a lot of buzz around what about foreigners buying property in Barcelona? There were some protests in the city from a very small group of people, but of course it comes big in the media.
right.
Um, Today in Barcelona, I believe it's 25.4% of the inhabitants are non-Spanish. Yeah? So one out of four, and you see that when I came here 25 years ago, I was one of the only international. There was no expat community. I mean, today you go to any bar, terrace, and you hear English, you hear French, you hear any kind of language.
Right.
So there's also a campaign from the city council now, and it says basically, if you respect us, you will be respected, and that's normal.
So
So
true.
I think that's a misconception we sometimes hear. But if you behave like a normal person, it's very easy to integrate. And integration is a lot easier now that the international community is so much larger.
Yeah,
Because you have very specific events, for instance, for Americans. Um, you have international events, you have local and international mixed events. It's a lot easier than I think 15, 20 years ago.
definitely. And I to touch on that, that whole news article that came out about the tourists and the water guns being sprayed.
Yeah, yeah.
So many Americans have responded to some of my emails saying, but they don't like Americans there. They don't want foreigners. It's not true. That is specifically talking about the tourist hospitality sector with Airbnbs, hotels kind of taking over dwellings and things like that. When you are an expat and you are actually a resident there, it's a whole other story. You are one, and I really do believe in that, kind of phrase is we are one. You become one with the community. So I just want to throw that out before you get going. So Raf, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to go ahead and make you the host, and then you can go ahead and
Okay.
share. I'm going to take myself off a spotlight so that, yeah,
Okay.
you'll be solo
I
doing your
I
thing
will
right
support what I say with a few slides. But I'm not a slides person. Don't worry. It's more to visualize, to illustrate.
Yeah. And if you guys have any
Um,
questions, remember we are doing the live Q&A at the end. So
yes.
definitely save your questions for there. Perfect. Yep, I
Can you
see
see my
it.
screen?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So um, I will the structure. I'll briefly explain what it is that we do in our day to day, so you understand where my examples come from. But it's really real life examples. We'll talk about how do things work and not work when it comes to looking for a property, so finding it, negotiating it, buying it, the contracts. How does it work and not work in Spain? What to take into account, differences with the US, etc. Um, I'll talk about things that I believe will be different in 2026 compared to this year. So the market is always changing. So what are the things you should be aware of? I'll explain the buying process, the key steps in the process, and I'll share my prediction on the prices as well. This question always comes up in every webinar I do. Are prices going to go up next year? So I'll give you my prediction, and then we have questions and answers. All right. I need to just arrange my screen so we. Do you see a clean screen now? Yes, I think so. Yeah, should be good. Good. So, sorry. Just briefly, we Inspire. We created Inspire in 2012, 2013. So 12, 13 years ago. Have helped hundreds of international buyers. All clients are international, but we also uh, do since 2013 personal investments in the local property market. And that's very valuable experience for us and for the people we accompany on their journey. Because once you do things with your own money, you look at it in a very different way. And we want our customers to tap into this expertise of having gone through the process hundreds of times so that you can take um, your decisions in terms of what property to choose, decisions of what price to pay, how to buy it, with the same criteria, with the same judgment that we apply for our own investments, with our own money, but also for the hundreds of other international buyers. We won an award this year for market disruption and how we help the international community in terms of property purchases from prestigious business school, EU Business School. That's a Forbes 10 on the Forbes 10 list. And as I mentioned before, my background is in the corporate world. These are companies I worked with. And why do I show this? Because I was in charge of the procurement and cost reduction function for those companies. It was all about thinking how a company spends its money, how you avoid problems when you spend the money, how you have proper contracts with your suppliers, how you compare and select suppliers when you screen them. And at some point on a flight back from London Heathrow, I came from Walt Disney, where we had a 300 million pounds cost reduction program. I was like, wait, all those things that I'm doing for these large corporations, people don't do that don't apply such a due diligence when they spend a big chunk of their savings to buy a property. They just trust the selling party. Yeah? So they don't compare properly. They don't have proper contracts. They don't know how to negotiate based on data. And that's where the idea came on that late Friday flight. Um, let's see what, but let's a question to start, and you can write your answers in the Q&A box here. So when you buy a property in Spain, and it doesn't matter if this is Barcelona or anywhere else, you go to, for instance, Idealista, the largest listing site, or you go to a realtor who commercializes, who shows you the property. Who is the customer of that realtor or that agency? Is it the buyer? Because you're going to buy the property and they're going to give you documents and contracts. Is it the owner who sells the property? Or are both buyer and owner clients, because the agency's role is intermediation, basically. So you can write your comments in the Q&A, but it's more a reflection for yourself. Okay, I'm not going to wait here. I asked this question over and over again, and these are the results of when I compiled the responses from hundreds of participants in other webinars. 50% has it wrong. The only right answer is the seller, the owner, is a client of the realtor, of the real estate agency. They give a sales mandate to that agency, realtor, and they ask them to sell to defend their interests, meaning their interest is to sell at the highest possible price, to avoid difficult questions from buyers, and to sign as soon as possible. Yeah. So here you see only 50% has it right, and 50% would basically start off a journey, which is for most people the biggest financial decision at this stage in their life, because you will never spend so much of your savings in one day again. You will never commit to such a mortgage again in the near future. And that's a main risk here. I'm still the screen. And I say this because this is a fundamental cause of mistakes that happen further down the process. And it is very easy to make costly mistakes and not realizing it, or not realizing it until it's too late. And too late means once you've bought the property, then it's really too late. But it also, even after you have signed and paid the earnest money contract, in Spain it's an arras contract. It's when you pay 10% to the seller. There's a lot of people, they lose these deposits, 10%, just because they didn't know enough or didn't do enough and were unprepared. Because the market, and I come to this, the market is very, very poorly regulated through the sector, the real estate sector, I mean. And realtors, agencies, owners, they know that there's a lot of international buyers. They know that international buyers have less information and don't have a network. And because they have no liability, I repeat this, there is abuses. There's very abusive practices, and I will share you examples so that you can avoid them. For those thinking of buying in the next year, any market changes, but I think specifically the property market is changing, and you will require new reference points. Here are a few points I want to clarify and share with you. Firstly, and these things are different from the US and different from many other countries, like European countries, where the market is much more regulated, where realtors need a license to operate, where people who show you properties have liability. So in Spain, anyone can sell property, right? Any one of you can, within a certain number of weeks, get a license to be a realtor in Spain. Yeah? Training, very, very, very limited. You pay a little fee and that's it. So imagine how many people are doing this, and they're not all coming from a great background. But also, liability also means, for instance, they don't have to be transparent. The seller or the person representing the seller, so the realtor, if they know there's a problem with the property, a technical issue, or it's an inheritance and the inheritance tax hasn't been paid yet, or they know there is issues, discussions, lawsuits within the homeowner association, or they know there is urban plans that might affect the street, etc., etc. They don't have to tell you. Huh? Um, and you won't figure out because if they don't tell you, how would you figure out? There's also no single source to find all information or a track record about a specific property. So in many countries, you can see who was a previous owner, for how much did he or she buy the property, etc., etc., etc. It's not in Spain. We need to speak when a client likes a property. The first thing we do is it's not one click. We need to speak to the land registry. We need to speak to the cadastre. We need to speak to the city council to check city tax payments. You need to speak to the homeowner association. You speak to the seller's lawyer, or to the seller. You need to speak to the realtor. You need to speak to the bank of the seller to understand if they have a mortgage on the property. Just to give you an idea, but the market is fast. You need to take a quick decision. And that's where people make mistakes, because you need to take decisions based on limited or absent or wrong information. We see many cases where there are many cases where the seller's representative says, don't worry, the building maker, if you buy an apartment, you buy a building, right? So you are responsible for a part of the building maintenance. They say, don't worry, the building maintenance, all payments are up to date, no pending payments, no pending payments. And our architect thinks like, that looks strange because we believe there is maintenance required. And they put even on email that all bills have been paid. When we get further down in the contracting process, we figure out, they don't tell us, we figure out that there were 7,000 and a bit euros of pending payments from the current owners, the sellers, right? So if you don't spot that, that cost comes your way. That's examples of this transparency. And then a big difference here is the transaction, you close it at the notary public. It's the highest official instance for formalizing contracts. But they don't run a due diligence. For instance, in other European countries, the notary runs a due diligence on the property. It's not the case here. You only see the notary in the last 1 hour of a 2, 3, 4 month buying journey. So it's too late then. And then you have different ways to go through a buying process and to be accompanied. You can, of course, the realtors, they want you to trust them and they want to be your guide. But keep in mind, their job is to sell, not to protect you. Their job is to defend the seller, right? And the examples I gave before relate to this. So be very, very careful with this. Second is, yes, you can hire a lawyer, of course, and that's why we have lawyers, because they are crucial in the process in Spain, because somebody needs to do the legal due diligence and the contract. But you can perfectly buy the wrong property with a great lawyer. But the lawyer comes in once you've decided which property you will buy, once you've made the initial payment, probably already. So that's too late. So be careful. The lawyer is not validating if it's a good investment, if it's a good long-term investment. The lawyer will not visit the street and tell you how the street is after midnight, or who's living in the building and what happens within the homeowner association. No, the lawyer is just going to protect the contracts, the contractuals. But you can still make a bad investment, a wrong investment. And then there's a lot of people today, and that's something we can't do anything about, that are presenting themselves in the market as home hunters, buyer agents, and they do that because they've moved to Spain, they've bought once a property, and then they're going to help other people buy a property. Okay, but based on what experience, be very, very cautious with those people. Check credentials, and make sure that the reviews that they have are from buyers and not from finding properties to rent, which is a very easy business, right? And then there's a lot of volume. A consequence of what I've mentioned so far is that many contracts are poorly written and presented to the buyers as this is a standard contract. We never, ever use a standard contract provided by a seller, because it's not good. It's not going to give you any protection, not going to give you any exit option. in case you don't get financing, in case we find that something is not okay with the property, etc. So be careful with that. And of course, overpaying for a property is a um, very common problem because it's extremely. If you come from California, where property prices are sky high, uh, it's very difficult to make a judgment whether a property here is worth 640,000 or 690,000. How do you make that judgment? Well, that's where we use data tools and experience to help you there avoid overpaying. Yeah. That's these are a few important points to keep in mind. What we see as well today, the mark. By the way, here's a QR code. If you scan this, there's I think 70 or 80 buyers on camera. They just share their initial fears, the doubts. They explain how they went through the process, and we ask them a simple question: what learning do you want to share with people who are thinking today of buying? So you can find that there. Now, in a market that moves fast, where good properties sell quickly, where international buyers, the number of international buyers is increasing, because you're not the only one who likes Spain. There's a lot of American buyers, but there's much more Italian and French buyers and Belgian buyers, etc., and German buyers. Um, there is not enough properties for the demand today, not enough products for the demand. And many realtors, they struggle to have business. So you see more and more properties listed with multiple realtors. There's no coordination. Be careful, because typically the protection for you is gonna be lower, weaker in these situations. We see cases where realtors, because they don't have enough business, struggle financially, and they try and keep reservation amounts. When you buy a property later, you pay initial reservation, normally up to 1% of the purchase price. So let's say 500,000 property, 5,000 euros. When we figure out there's a problem, normally you get it back right away, that amount, if the contract is done properly. We see cases where even with strong contracts, some realtors are trying to keep the buyer's money. And then we hear from, because our network is, we know a lot of people, we hear that, okay, they're struggling financially. Got to be careful who you send your money to. What if it disappeared throughout the process? In the market today, you look for a property, but you compete for good properties today. There's a lot of buyers. So how to make the right decision, informed decisions in this type of market context? In my opinion, it is only one answer: preparation. If you're prepared, if we have the right discussions regarding what is financially possible, what do you expect in terms of a property, nice to haves, must haves, what neighborhoods are great, maybe considerable, or out of consideration, what's your lifestyle, what do you want, what makes you happy, what do you not want? Once we understand that, and we have looked at properties in advance, then you can take a reasonably fast decision and win from other buyers. So as I said here before, the demand is high. And why is demand so high? It's not only lifestyle driven, and not only people that like the sunny weather and the cocktails on the beach and skiing in the winter. No, the market is driven by interest rates, as any property market. Today, you can finance a property in Spain, Barcelona here. We signed one Tuesday at 1.75% fixed interest rate. International buyer, 1.75% fixed interest rates. I don't know in the US where interest rates are today, but it's closer to 6%, I think. Of course, that creates additional demand. That also means that payments, if you rent, the rental cost per month is today a lot higher than the cost of paying back a mortgage. So if you have a deposit to pay the initial for the initial down payment, which normally for residents is 20%, for non-residents is 30%, if you have that amount, it makes a lot more sense than renting. So again, demand goes up. And there is the Spanish government is is a disaster in many ways, but specifically in terms of housing, there's no plans, there's no incentives to construct new homes. At the same time, for Barcelona, then Barcelona is a hub for technology companies, for international companies setting up shared service centers, hubs here. Um, so international talent is coming here. They need housing. So prices will go up further. They have gone up already quite significantly. And property markets are cyclical, and you see some little ups and downs, but I think the trend is pretty clear in this graph. This graph, every line is a different district within Barcelona, within the city center. Okay, but you see Sarrià, Sant Gervasi is the most expensive area, followed by Eixample. Here you see it on the right here. Cheapest areas are now Baris, Horta, San Andreu. Okay, but the trend is exactly the same, independent from the specific neighborhood within the city center, and that's just because demand is so much larger than the supply of good properties. In the last 15 years, since 2012, prices went up by 71%. Okay, in my opinion, what will prices do going forward? We don't have a crystal ball. But I think for Spain this year, for Spain on average, we are around 10 to 11% price increases overall. Huh? Barcelona, 10, 11% as well. It depends a bit on the district, but all districts, the last time I looked at it a month ago, a few weeks ago, every single district went up by double digits, so 10 and a half, 11.5% year on year, November this year, November last year. This will continue in 2026. I think for Barcelona, price increases 6, 7, 8% is very, very realistic to expect. Maybe more in the central areas of Eixample, Sant Gervasi, Pedralbes, Sarrià, Sant Gervasi, Eixample, yes, Galvany, Tres Torres. These are areas that are in high demand um, from American buyers specifically. It's a very strong international community in these areas as well. But it's a big number again, 6, 7, 8%, and in some parts maybe up to 10%. That's a big number. Also, the transactions, the number of property purchases will still continue. Next year. So if you want to buy, and again, you don't need to be resident here, right? You can buy as non-resident. If you financially can do it, you will save money if you do it rather sooner than later. Here's an example. If you not every data point is important here, but let's take scenario two, easy number here, a million euro property. If that goes up by 100,000, it's 1,100,000 then. You compete with buyers who are renting today. Right? If or some of them at least, if you rent for such a property could be easily 25k euros per year. So people who are renting today, if the market goes up by 100,000 and they pay 25k in rent, it's 125k on a yearly basis, or no, on the purchase, sorry, that they will just lose basically. If they have these funds and they use that as a deposit and they leverage it with a bank, they have around 400,000 additional buying power. Why do I show this? Because not everybody buys a second residence, and not everybody is relocating today from the US to Barcelona or to Spain. There's also other people that already live here, international people that have good salaries and are changing from renting to owning, and you compete to those people. That's just part of the explanation why the market is booming so much. And I said booming, and it's not a bubble. Bubble is there's no single sign for a bubble this year, next year, 2027. There's no single sign. It's just higher prices. Examples here to make it a bit more tangible. This is let's say smaller, is a one bedroom apartment. You can separate the second bedroom here. in Poblasek, area in high demand by international buyers, uh, fully equipped. Everything is included. That went for 350,000 euros last week. It is ready to move in. Towels, cutlery, everything is there. If you buy this property and it needs a renovation, you probably go, then it's 200, between 250 and 300 probably. Um, Another example, this more uptown, San Gervasi area, that's above the Diagonal in Barcelona, more prime. You see that larger 6 bedroom apartments, terrace, 230 square meters. You can move in, but it's a bit old fashioned. It's an elderly couple who's selling it. So if you upgrade it, you usually spend 150 to 200,000 euro on it, but you buy this for 1 or 2 million, which we believe is too high, is overpriced in the market. I think the fair price is probably on around 1.1 million. But still, that's just to give you two reference points: a smaller 1 2 bedroom apartment, a large apartment, prime location that needs some upgrades. Um, how are we doing time wise? Yeah, okay, I think it's okay.
Yeah, we're
Um,
doing good, Rolf. Sorry, I was on mute for a little bit, so I had to
no,
reclaim
that's
my
fine.
voice. But yeah, we're doing good on time. I would say
Okay.
maybe in like the next 10 minutes we could
Yeah,
shift over to the live
perfect.
Q&A. I'm seeing a
Yeah, it's
lot of
perfect.
awesome questions. So guys, just I'm taking note of everybody's question, and so is Rolf. We will be answering those shortly, okay?
Yeah. So
Awesome.
quick recap so far. We've talked about what to watch out for. How does it not work in Spain? The role of the realtors, role of the lawyers, etc. We talked about the market prices, high demand, and we said that so good properties are quickly to win in this market. Preparation is absolutely important. The very first thing we do with every single customer is looking at how would you pay for the property? Is it cash? Is it you want a mortgage? We can run a mortgage simulation for you. And then secondly, validating your expectations, your requirements, and making sure they are in line with the market reality. What you want to buy where for a certain budget, does it exist? Or where to be flexible, uh, where to adjust. It's a very first steps for everyone. And then that allows you to act faster, to take the right decision. Example, we because I like to give examples. We have buyers they're from the UK. We started to work with them a week or two ago. Yesterday, we went to visit an apartment with them and a penthouse with a very nice view to the Sagrada Familia area. And we managed to secure it for them. So we submitted an offer right away yesterday. It was accepted yesterday evening still. And we signed a reservation contract today. How can you do this that fast? Because we had discussed neighborhoods and other types of properties and pros and cons of penthouses and how that impacts the valuation of a bank, etc., beforehand. So they feel they can take an informed decision now, right? And the
Rolf,
contract has exit options.
Rolf, really quick. Are you still on? I just want to make sure we're all with you. You're still on slide 18, Sanjay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
No,
want to make sure something didn't freeze.
I just started with an example. Okay, it's
Because I
fine.
know that I
No,
accidentally took the host again, so I just wanted to
no,
make
it's
sure
fine.
I didn't mess something up.
It's
Okay,
fine. It's
thanks
fine.
so much.
I'm gonna change now.
Oh, perfect. I just didn't
Um,
know if it was frozen. Perfect. Thank you so
no,
much.
so just to say this, so you can take it, and you need to take it. If you like a property today, you need to take a decision today or tomorrow, assuming you want a property that is better than average, right? Because otherwise, another buyer will go for it, and that's where we bring the ability to buy faster, take informed decisions, and have contracts that protect you, that truly protect you, where you have exit options. Because we don't have all the information about the property yet. The example I mentioned here from yesterday. But we're getting it today. We will get some things probably only on Monday or Tuesday, but that's fine. There's this protection built into the contractuals. And very often as well, in situations where there is another interested buyer. So how do you go about that? Because then do you need to increase your offer? Do you need to overbid? Do you need to stick to your offer? How to act? And that's our role as well, to position you as the best possible candidate for the seller. And how can we position you as a certain option, the safe option to a seller, if we have done the preparation together in advance, right? And then very often, even as a competing buyer, we still get the property for our clients just because the sellers also know that with Inspire we go through a structured process, and we have what I call qualified or mature buyers. And then here's the process, and then I have a few tips afterwards, and then we go to the Q&A. We
Perfect.
use a four-step methodology, and this has been refined over the years. Misconception. Let me give another example here. A lot of people start with looking at properties, yeah? uh, screening websites if they are in Barcelona, visiting properties, and then they come to us and say, "We see this apartment or this house. Can you help us buy it?" Yeah, of course we can, but that's phase two, right? So they missed phase one. And then very often we cannot de-risk everything because they already have committed maybe to buying something, or they're just already too far in the process and some things have not been clarified. So the solid foundations, that is what helps you, that's what prepares you to win in this competitive market. Compare it with sports. Everybody likes sports, or many people like sports. In sports, nobody cares about who ends second, right? And it's the same in real estate in Spain. There's only one buyer that gets a property, and there's not that many great properties. So preparation. Second phase is then searching with proper criteria, with realistic expectations, with a method, um, and then having an approach to shortlist, to say no to certain properties. Why saying no? Why rejecting them? And building that funnel, coming to your top three, and then to the number one you want to go for. And that's where we are working very closely with our buyers. We visit properties together, of course, with them. We give them our input based on what we've seen in the market, based on for how much we think the bank will value it, based on technical requirements in terms of to renovate it, um, market value, etc. We can very quickly we see around then 7, 8, 9, 10 properties in every single day in Barcelona, and every day of the week and every week of the month, and since 2012. So that's a big number. It gives us good reference points to help you understand if the property is good, average, or not good at all. The outcome of the second phase is basically ideally a top three, where you say, I want that property if possible. Because again, there is no transparency. We don't know if everything will be in order. Maybe they find out things that are not okay with the property, technically, legally, ownership, debt, urban affectations, and so on. But then we know what is your second preference or your third preference. Now, once we can secure a deal, meaning having a verbal or written agreement on the property purchase price and a few basic terms like timing and exit options, then phase three starts, which is, and that's where the lawyer comes in. That's where the legal due diligence becomes absolutely critical. But you've decided which property you want to buy already. That's when the technical inspection happens on the property. That's when we finalize details on the negotiation, where we draft contracts, when we give you our due diligence report, because we sign it off. We give you everything you need to know, make an informed decision, because many properties, I mean, the seller will never talk about any cons or things to be aware of. They will just talk about the good things. We will give you the good things and the things we believe you need to know. And it doesn't mean that means that you shouldn't buy the property. We make a recommendation. So that you know what you're buying. Okay. And then we go together to the notary with you for closing. You get the keys, you get your title of ownership, and then the post-purchase phase. That's more administrative. You need to change utilities to your name, utility contracts. You need to talk to the homeowner association. You need to do a few admin things. We help you with that. We make the right introductions, and if you need a handyman if you need to do a renovation, want to change the kitchen. So that's things you access our network for that, right? And then so that you can get the property to make it your home, basically. Make the property your home or your second residence. That process, how long does it take? What we can measure is easily measure is from once you like a property and we manage to get an agreement, a first reservation agreement on the property until completion. Um, if you finance the purchase, count on 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, 1.5 months, 2 months. If you need a mortgage in Spain, if you buy cash, it can be very fast. 2 weeks, 3 weeks is enough, and the property is in your name, assuming there is no constraints on the seller side, of course, right? And the search part, we have two service models. One where the client, our buyer, is in the driver's seat and they screen the market, and then we are in the passenger seat. So we go and see properties that they like. Um, then it depends on you. Second model is where we are in the driver's seat and our buyer is in the passenger seat, and then we screen, we pre-select, and we tell the buyer, now you need to come. Um, so we plan in advance. If you're going to be here the third week of January, we line up all visits. Um, in that second model, we can measure better between starting a search on the clients, reserving a property at 7 weeks average time. So it's pretty fast. But again, there is cases of 2 weeks and cases of 4 months as well. It's not the most important thing. Before going to the Q&A, recap of what I believe are important takeaways, things that can help you avoid problems and be better prepared in this market. Um, the market is not going to wait for you, right? Other buyers are not going to wait for you. Actually, they want to be faster than you. So be prepared. Not discussed. Shauna will share, I don't know how, but
Yes,
uh, I have a standard form. It's a Google form, very simple, that I use, where you can, if you want to, where you can share what you want to buy. So what area within the center or what villages or what neighborhood, the budget approximately, the type of property, etc. It's a few minutes to fill it in. Um, I commit to look at it. I'll do this myself, and we will get back to you with feedback, with our feedback and recommendations. If
perfect.
we believe
I
we can
just
help you,
dropped it. I just dropped it in the chat. So this is our gift to you guys. You can go ahead and complete it. It'll ask for your name, your
okay.
email, and then it will be a buyer's wish list. So it probably will take a couple
Yeah.
minutes to fill out.
Yes.
And then Roth will review it. And then at that point,
Yeah.
see if it's a fit for
Yeah.
a call.
Yeah. And if you believe we can generally help you, I will offer you up to 30 minutes free consultation where I will uh, listen to your plans, give you my opinion. Do I think it's realistic, or where should you be more realistic or flexible? And explain you how I would approach it, what next steps I would take, and explain as well how we can help you. That's our commitment.
Roth, really quick, for anybody with a disability, for example, somebody who's deaf, instead of a call, is email okay?
We will in first instance get back over email,
Yes.
and it can be discussed as well.
Yeah, we can discuss that, Diana.
Uh, uh, if you want to share your buying plans, even if it doesn't matter if it's like short term and very tangible, or more like longer term and an initial dream, that's also fine. You can indicate timings there, but be as precise as possible. Honestly, it doesn't make sense to get on a call if you only fill out half of the questions and you don't describe. If you take a few minutes to describe your situation and your doubt, I will take time to talk to discuss those with you and give our guidance.
Perfect.
Um, for people who work with us, it's the next step is a workshop. It's over Zoom or face to face. Tomorrow we have Howard and Andrea coming from the US. They are on holidays in Barcelona now. We did the preparation up front remotely. We met once in the office last week, and tomorrow we do a 2.5 hour deep dive workshop to make sure expectations are realistic before we start the search. Because they go back to the US in February, And so we have two options. Either they buy before going back, or they buy later next year when they will have, again, a trip to Barcelona. Third point, if you want to finance, mortgage pre-approvals are very, very important. There's no good banks in Spain, sorry. But you need them if you want to finance. And uh, there's no bank who can meet the buying timelines, as I explained before, like the 1.5 to 2 months between a reservation and going to the notary. There's no bank who can give you within 1 or 2 weeks an approved mortgage. But you need it because 1, 2 weeks after a reservation contract, you need to sign a deposit contract and you pay 10%. And I don't like that our clients sign a deposit contract, pay 10% to the seller without having certainty from their bank. So that's, again, it's a very early stage thing to do. We can help with that. And be a bit flexible on your neighborhood. Sometimes prices change a lot by moving a few streets in any direction. Um, and think, point number five, think how you want to approach it. I mentioned in my mind, in my opinion, there is 4 ways. So you can do it alone. That's fine, and I respect that. And then you rely on Google, AI, and your friends. It's probably the slowest option. It's a higher risk option, but okay. You can work directly with your realtors who sell the property. I've mentioned that. That's an immense conflict of interest for the realtors, but a lot of people still do that. 3, you can hire a lawyer, fine, but again, they won't protect your decision. They protect just the contract once you've decided what to buy and how much to pay. Or 4, you hire a buyer agent, but then be careful that they have the relevant experience, and it's not just a one-man show or somebody who was just left a realtor, has only been selling in her life and now wants to help people buy property. So that's, for me, the things I would suggest you to consider. You got the QR code again there for the YouTube channel. It's Inspire Property Experts. You can find a lot of free content there on tips on how to buy, stories from other buyers. But shouldn't we go to the Q&A?
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much for that amazing, so in-depth presentation. I think we all learned so, so much. So if anybody has questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I've actually went ahead and took notes on some of these people's questions. Raf and Mary Wall, she asked a question first. So I would love to drop that one in the chat for you. Her question
Okay.
is how the Airbnb market is how the Airbnb is affecting the market now, and how will we be able to purchase if we like one? I will go ahead and drop what she asked in the chat. She has a couple,
You
but
drop
that's
it
the
again
first.
in you drop it again in the chat now?
Yes. And if you want to come stop sharing, that would be great, and then we could see if
Yes, yes.
you don't mind. There
Yeah.
we go. Okay, cool. We're back.
So
Awesome.
Airbnb, again, the media plays an important role here, um, but also the local politicians in Barcelona and in Spain. The housing problem, the housing deficit I've explained to you, I mean, it's very simple. I mean, either the public sector builds the houses or you let the private sector build the houses. They don't do. The government doesn't do it. So they need to blame someone. So they said Airbnb is the devil. Because of Airbnb and the tourist apartments that um, people don't have access to properties and prices are going up. It's nonsense. We have the data. There is 9,800 and a bit tourist apartments in Barcelona, licensed apartments in Barcelona, on a property stock of 1.2, 1.3 million properties. It's a drop in the ocean. Whatever you do with those apartments is irrelevant. Even if you shut them down, they won't go back to the long-term rental market, or some will go be sold, some people use it for themselves. So it's politicians. They need perceptions. They live from perceptions, not from reality. And housing is a great topic to win votes. And so It's not impacting the market. I don't see how it would impact pricing, neither, because it's such a small number of properties. What they're doing well now is they are trying to shut down the illegal Airbnb apartments, so properties without a license to operate. And that's, of course, I'm in favor. We operate many rental properties ourselves. I mean, own properties, I mean. And we are fully licensed. And so, yeah,
Awesome. Is
that
there
was first part of the question.
the second question she had was, is there better pricing for cash buyers?
What there was a second part of the question. How will we be able to purchase if we like one? So I understand how you
Oh yeah.
purchase a tourist apartment. It's for us, lots of experience there. The only thing we need to do, there's a complementary process, which is the license. You need to buy the license as well. We need to check uh, certain things on the license. There is no complaints and etc. And everything is fully in order. The apartment meets the requirements, and then we buy the license. We help you transfer the license to your name. Um, but there is some constraints there on license transfer, so which we would have to check as part of the due diligence, if it's possible. This depends, by the way, on the village or city council, so it's different in every place in Spain.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She also asked if there is um preference for anybody that's a cash buyer and kind of what that can look like.
Yeah. Well, that's our job to position you as the best possible buyer. And if you are a cash buyer and we have done the prep and we know where are the funds, are they liquid, or do you need to still liquidate an investment fund or a pension plan whatsoever? If we know your timings and we can understand the amount, we typically can negotiate a lot more aggressively with the seller to position you, and it will allow you to win from buyers that need financing, because it's a not zero risk process, but it's a very low risk for the seller.
Oh, great. Awesome. Her other question was dual citizenship. Does it make a difference in the buying process?
No, no, it doesn't matter with what passport you make the purchase. You can buy as a non-resident with an American passport or with any other passport. Um, citizenship only. No, actually not. The only thing that makes a difference is residency. If you actually are residing in Spain. So residing in Spain, technically speaking, you live here ideally a year or longer, then you're considered a fiscal resident in Spain. If you're here for more than half a year plus 1 day, yeah? Technically speaking, that gives you better cards when you apply for a mortgage. Then you get a higher percentage loan to value. You get more money from the bank, and the interest rates might be slightly lower. But so citizenship is doesn't make a difference.
Great. And then a lot of people have asked, Raf, are you just working in the Catalonia region? And if they have wanting to buy in other parts of Spain, what's your recommendation? And is Catalonia your main focus?
Mm. So it is the main focus today. We started in Barcelona. We expanded to basically all of Catalonia. All of Catalonia means basically big purchases are on the Costa Brava, so between Barcelona, the north coast, up to the French border, the Pyrenees, south, Sitges area into Tarragona. This way, we do a lot of work inland as well. We we've decided we like to focus on that just because I really I believe in focus. We are working today in Murcia. We are working with clients in just south from Alicante. We have done deals in Valencia. We have a network there not everywhere. I'm going to be honest, and I think someone who says he has a network everywhere, it's probably not true because it's too difficult. Um, but in many locations, we have a good, strong network of professionals, like, for instance, lawyers, people who make technical inspections, and we have people that are trained on our methodology. And that's important. So we can centralize from the office here purchases in different locations as well.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. So Sandra has a good question that she kind of wants to just clarify regarding your last four ways buyer can select to go. Where do you guys fall under? You're the buyer's agent, correct?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good question, and maybe wasn't clear enough. So basically, those four options, they are partial solutions to what a buyer needs. So it's either conflict of interest, or the lawyer comes only in one part of the process, or the buyer agent actually never done it with his own money and or only done a few deals. Um, I think where the way we see ourselves, and that's what our clients also publicly say about us, is um, that we have that 360 solution, that we bring together everything you need for a good, smart purchase, bring everything together under one roof. And that means proper planning up front, the sourcing, the shortlisting of property, sourcing and shortlisting of properties, uh, negotiations. Anna, my partner, she's our killer negotiator, and many people refer to her in the videos. um, the contracting, the legal checks on the property, the technical inspection on the property, the financing, the mortgage, the admin stuff like NIE numbers, bank accounts, powers of attorney. By the way, very, very, very interesting for American buyers, powers of attorney, strongly recommended. Um, and then even the network of building companies, handyman, interior design firms, furniture shops, etc., property management companies. So we want to bring all those things together, and we have the necessary experience to to make you to allow you to buy with the same criteria, judgment, precision that we apply over and over again in our own investments and for the hundreds of buyers we're helping. To give you an idea, we work at any given moment approximately with 20 buyers in parallel. I think today it's something like that. Everybody at a different stage. I said we have Howard and Andrea. They come tomorrow for the workshop. We had Susie, who signed today at the notary, so she got her keys and her title of ownership. We've other people where we run mortgage simulations, but it's a good volume to be able to give that 360 support. You get a single point of contact, you get a plan, and you get an expert team. That's the way we see it, because that's what you need
Nice. Yeah, it's super,
to
super
find better
valuable.
properties, but also to buy faster if needed, to accelerate if needed, and not miss a step in the process.
Definitely. And to kind of carry on that power of attorney question, are the
Yes.
power of attorneys um, someone that works in the Inspire office, or is that your legal partners inside of Inspire?
There is part of attorney. You need to define what powers you want to give. And there is some things we do internally. For instance, if you want to change the utility supplies of your property, and we can do that, and it's a very simple sentence in the power of attorney. When it comes to signing your purchase at the notary, and if you take financing, go to the bank the day before, to your bank in Spain, and sign the proper documents to free the money the next day. Then it's one of our lawyers, but that's an external law firm. And we do that to avoid any kind of potential conflict of interest that no, there's an external law firm. They look at it and they will sign in your name. We can never do the powers of attorney are structured in such a way we cannot do anything unless you email instruct us in a very specific way. So you need to ask us, um, I want you to go on February 12th to that notary where I will buy this property for this price, for which I have signed an earnest money contract on December 11th. And here is the no. So it needs to be very specific, but to avoid any confusion there. And then we take full responsibility for executing that. And we have clients from the US. Many clients like us to sign in their name at the notary, just because it's not timing for signing at the notary. It depends on you, but also on the seller, of course, and a bit on notary's office. But we get priority for signing sessions. That's no problem. Um, And we have clients now, they come from California, they need a big renovation, and the property will be bought in the first week of January, or January 9th or so, I think, or 8th. We will sign, the lawyers will sign, and they will come only 2 weeks afterwards because that's when it's for them easier work-wise. Then they can travel and they can stay here for a few weeks, and it just makes more sense. Because just to come here for a 1 hour signing session, if they have not prepared and the architect is not lined up, it doesn't make sense for them.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Bill is asking, if I am in my late 60s, can I still get a mortgage? And if so, for what term?
Yeah. Banks. I mean, the banks what they want to protect is they want to be sure that you pay the mortgage back. You can, but it will be for a smaller amount and it will be for a limited duration. I would assume that what we see is banks give a mortgage up to the age of 73, 72, 73 years, normally, assuming your financial profile is sufficiently strong. But they will want to see an income stream. They want to see how you will pay the property back. It's not just enough to say, I've got a big savings account, or um, an investment account might help, or a stock portfolio might help. But it will be the bank will then look at your situation, not just the age, personal situation. Also, do you buy together with someone else or on your own? Financials, income, other debt you might have, other mortgage or loans you might have, and then they say, look, that's the first thing we do. Whoever asked the question here, the very first step is we use our fin form, financial form. We run it with our mortgage broker through different scenarios, and then we see what is possible because that impacts your capacity to buy, and that will impact maybe neighborhoods you can consider and types of properties that you can consider or should forget about.
Perfect. Oh, thank you so much. Because I know we do have a lot of people that are in that age range. So thanks for that question,
Mhm.
Bill. Okay, so Mimi asked a question. Do you have properties on the beach, north or south of Barcelona, that you approve of and feel are good buildings? Which I will say I love the north, the south, by Sitges, by
Mm.
Villanova, north by, closer to Costa Brava or even in Costa Brava. Do you have any properties on the beach in those regions?
Yeah, I mean, we know a lot of properties there. We buy their, as I said, it's our core geographical area. We visit a lot of properties there weekly and monthly. We don't. Let me clarify this. We on purpose we do not have a portfolio of properties because we don't sell the properties. And we help you find and buy the property because if we were to have our own portfolio of properties for sale, I would have a massive conflict of interest. Because then I need to defend the seller, right? Who wants to get a buyer. So we look at the entire market. We use listing sites to find properties, but we also use our network, which is very strong after so many years, to find potential off-market opportunities as well. Properties that are not listed yet. And then a lot of realtors know us, a lot of law firms know us, a lot of experts in inheritances know us, and so that's very good channels for us to see the best of the market. But we don't work with a list, and we will probably never have an own portfolio of properties because then it's a buyer agent seller agent discussion, right?
Right,
We the
definitely.
buyer agent.
What are those regions, north and south of Barcelona? And if those of you that have not checked it out, you need to do a scouting trip to these towns. Which
Yes.
towns would you say you help people buy in that are on the
Oh,
coast?
to give you a few towns that might ring a bell. So if you go south, 40-minute drive or train ride. You have very famous is Sitges. It's a very old fisherman little town. Very international now, very well connected to the center, very quiet. You can go a little bit further south, but then north is the north coast. The Costa Brava is, I think it's 86 kilometers long, or maybe more. Um, the first part north from Barcelona is not yet a Costa Brava. There you have Maresme, you have Mataró, you have Sant Pol, you have small villages, 20-minute connection public transport to Barcelona. Uh, Very nice lifestyle. You can be in front of the beach there if you want to. There's a train line, which is maybe not that nice, but the land goes uphill, so yeah, it's nice, well connected. And then if you go a bit further north, let's say an hour drive from Barcelona, you have the Costa Brava starting. For me, the most beautiful coast of Spain. The coast with the highest number of Michelin star restaurants as well. Uh, Gastronomy is top there. And there you have apartments, you have houses, you have old, what they call masillas, land houses from 200 years old, 300 years old, beautiful. And their villages are trendy, but small. Begur, probably the most posh one. Begur, Tamariu, Llafranc. Um, there is in
There's a
that
lot.
area. That's three that a lot of people really like. But there's a lot as well, a bit more south, closer to Barcelona,
Nice.
where you can go. Calonja is strong in demand as well for international buyers.
Another question. How does having a mortgage in the US impact your ability to have another
Yeah,
abroad?
yeah.
This person is looking at buying out an investment rental for rental income, but they don't want it to impact their ability to buy in Spain.
Yeah, it does impact your ability because the banks here, they look at your global uh, debt or income to debt ratio, better said. Um, so if you, let's say, if based on your income, you could afford a monthly loan payback of 5,000 euros, for instance, per month, but you already have a loan in the US that is 3,000 per month, then you will say, okay, in Spain you have 2,000 left. 2,000 per month is your maximum mortgage payback per month, and then it's a reverse calculation based on your profile. What is the maximum property purchase price with such a payback? But yes, it impacts your capacity for getting money from a bank here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. This is probably fairly a quick question. Bill is asking, with Inspire, is there a minimum property value that you deal with, or is it pretty much an open playing field for everybody?
We don't work with minimum values because also it depends on, for instance, if you buy a property outside the very city center. Because I've showed you this color,
Yeah.
this heat map of property prices. Prices drop quite a bit. Uh, so if you buy a property in Badalona, which is about 12 minutes on the underground, the metro from here, for those people who like that area, there you'll find 200K properties. Yeah, we can help you buy them. You don't find 200K properties in Barcelona very easily. Um, a lot of our buyers are in the segment, probably two segments. One big segment is, let's say, properties between approximately, for Barcelona, I talk now, 500,000 euros to a million to a million three. There's a big part of the demand. And that is where you find nice properties at nice locations in the center. There is another group who are rather, let's say, first-time buyers. These are very often younger people, young professionals renting today. They want to buy, they live alone or with a partner. They look for small apartments, a bit more flexible on location. Their budgets are uh, under 500K, but under 250, 300, it's pretty difficult today in Barcelona to find something really nice. I talk about the city center now. Huh? And then on if you go to the coasts, then it depends a lot. There you have 300,000, 400,000 is that you start to have nice properties. So no hard. In the initial conversations, we will talk about feasibility, and if we believe that it's, for instance, if you tell me I want to buy a 180,000 euro property in central Barcelona and I'm living in New York, and once I see it online, I can get on a flight and come and see it. It's probably not going to work because the property will be sold by the time you're here, right? So then for those things, we need to plan better, and we can help, but then sometimes yeah, because the work is. is very similar. We can't cut corners. It's not because the property is 200K or 600K that on a 200K we need to do less checks or less
Yeah.
work, right?
That's how I could really explain your service is the due diligence that you guys do. It's incredible. So I just commend you for that. I had somebody else ask a question. Do you do virtual showings when the
Yeah,
buyer is in the US, or would
of
it be
course.
better for the purchaser? I don't know what she said here. Wait. Or would it be better, to do scouting trips with your client?
We we do both. Personally, I recommend if you buy a property for yourself to that you will be using as a second residence or a main residence in the future, make that effort, time and money, and come and see the property before you commit to buying. It's going to be, of course, we can do virtual over WhatsApp or Zoom. We do that. The client profile who likes that is more the investor type who is not using the property him or herself. It's someone who says, I want just have an asset out of the US. I want it to be in Spain. I will rent it out, but there's no personal emotional attachment to the property. And they also go typically for properties that are a bit more of a commodity where you have, okay, standard two-bedroom place in a good location, for instance. It's better to come here. The way we do it with people from the US is so for instance, if we were to have today a conversation on the financials, and next week we take 2 hours to have a Zoom workshop to understand location of neighborhoods, your preferences, what you like, what you don't like, renovations, yes, no, terrace, yes, no, maybe, budget, everything, lifestyle. We start screening the market. Then the only thing we need to know is when can you spend 1 week here with us? That is the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
If you, for instance, if we know that the last week of January, you can be here Monday to Friday. So most people fly in Saturday, Sunday, they fly out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. Um, we make the short list. We pre-visit properties. We have a visits tracker online, so you see which properties we put in the short list. You can add your comments. You can see them. Uh, we show you our pictures, our videos, not what the seller wants to show you. It's always nice what they want to show. We show you what we think you need to know as a buyer. We jointly agree then on which properties we should go and visit. We line them up, we schedule the visits, and we go with you to every single property. We visit three, four, five, six properties on the first day. That's a lot already. We take time for a debriefing at the end of the day, a reflection. It can be in our office. Most people, they prefer to just have a glass of wine or a coffee or a tea somewhere in a nice local bar or a hotel. That's fine. But the point is reflecting. What have we seen? And everybody asks us, what do you think? What would you do? I mean, to us then. And because they see five or six, right? And we see eight, nine, 10 every single day. Second day, more visits. Third day on the Wednesday, few more visits. And probably most people want to see again, they might pay a second visit to one of their favorites from day one or day two. And you see how the short list is being created. And a lot of people by Thursday have clear preferences. As long if it's a couple, as long as they agree in terms of what is important, because it's another challenge sometimes. But as long as you know what you want and we are realistic from start, by Thursday you'd have a top three Friday, and then we can take action and start talking to that realtor, to that lawyer who commercializes it, to the seller, and you can fly back because we then negotiate, we run our price assessment, and once we get a deal, we validate, by the way, such things with you. We don't do negotiations without your approvals. You can sign a reservation document remotely. There's digital signature signing tools we use, or you can print and scan, or doesn't matter. But you don't have to be here. You only have to be here again to close the deal at a notary public. Last step when you get the keys, or you sign powers of attorney during the week that you're here. So during that 1 week, it's visiting properties, shortlisting, having a top three, but also signing documents for your NIE number, setting up a bank account. We make all these appointments for you. Signing a power of attorney if you want to, and any other things that might be needed. So we also discussing on neighborhoods and visiting some neighborhoods to understand them better. and going maybe during the day, but also going at night to potentially interesting areas that you
Nice.
see. You can appreciate that. Yeah.
Wow, super comprehensive. Thank you so, so much. Joel asked the question, do you also help people purchase rustic rural farmhouses that may
Hmm.
need rehab or just move-in ready properties in city centers?
No,
For rural
no.
properties, what's your advice?
Yeah. So real properties, we're in the midst of a buying process for to a couple from the US. It's a house from the 1940s, 1950s. So it's not a very old one, but it has these beautiful luxury elements, marble staircase and wooden elements, and but it needs a massive upgrade. So yeah, we went there. We to give you an example. There, one of the very first steps is not just going from a first visit with the buyers to, okay, let's buy this, let's think about the price. There we had doubts about the structure of the property. Yeah. But we couldn't see the roof because there was a false ceiling. So we asked permission to make a hole in the ceiling. It was hard to get. We didn't want to. Old people were selling it. But then we got the permission. We committed to repair it again afterwards if we don't buy the property. We took a sample of the concrete used in the structure. We sent it to laboratory. We got confirmations. There's no structural deficiencies or anything like that. Actually an exit option in the reservation agreement. We went also before, or as part of the conditions agreed in the reservation, with a specialist architect in this type of properties to go there to get an idea for how much would a renovation cost. And in this case as well, the property was a classified property. It's a historic, it's heritage. So we also need to speak to the heritage department of the local city council, or village council in that case. So there is a overall the process is the same, but there is more things that come into play that need to be checked. And it's in terms of structure, renovation works required, licenses very often. What can you do with it? Can you make an Airbnb from it? Can you rent it out? Can you make a guest house? Yes or no? Can you expand if you've a lot of land? Can you build something on the land? Yes or no, etc.
Nice. Okay, thank you so much. I would say, do you have 5 more minutes, Ralph, and then we'll close the live Q&A?
I'm flexible. It's just more. I can keep going for hours.
Ah,
It's up to you.
okay, great. Well, let's keep going then. I might have to leave in about 5 or 10. Okay, so maybe we'll cap it at that. Sharon asks, what do you think of the strategy of renting for a year prior to buying? Kind of lets you get you established in the area of your interest, get better acquainted to the local area. What is your take on that?
I think it depends how. This is also one of the things we discussed in the very first conversations. How well do you know the where you? Let's say if it's Barcelona, how well do you know the city? We have people who have been here once. We have people where only the husband has been once or twice, the wife never. So can make sense in some cases. Um, but also with good preparation and then with a good plan, if you come then maybe not a week, but maybe 2 weeks, where when you come and visit properties, we can based on your what we learn from you, what you tell us, we know right away that certain areas are not going to be you won't like them. We can steer you to other areas or sub neighborhoods, certain streets, maybe even. And then it depends on you. Some people, if you feel comfortable that that's the right area, because we explain you why we think these areas are you should consider them. Then you can decide to go for the buying process, or you can rent for a year. The only thing is, what I explained before, there's a cost of waiting, right? If the market goes up by 10%, that's a cost you would pay plus the rental cost, and of course during that year.
Right.
It's what doesn't exist is renting with an option of buying. That is very, very uncommon here. So don't expect that.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Tyler, hey Tyler, she asked, do property taxes exist in Spain and what do those look like?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, they exist because um, it's pretty simple. There's a purchase tax, which is 10% fixed. So one-off cost. It's 10%, and then it gradually increases to 10.5, 11% if you go for properties above eight, 900,000, a million or more. It's a little bit more, but it's tiny. Um, I would, in your calculations, count with a 10% one-off purchase tax. Mhm. Take 11% if you go for a property of a million or a bit more for easy calculations, round numbers. And then you have your tax covered. Once you own a property, there is something like a city tax. And the city tax is an annual tax. It's very low in Spain compared to many other parts of the world. Let's say for a three-bedroom apartment, maybe you pay between 400 and 600 euros per year, 400, 600 per year. That's not impacting a decision whether to buy property A, B, or C. It's just like a fixed recurring cost.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll take a couple more. Andre asks, what is the tax penalty or any other issues if the person decides to sell the property in 3+ years post-purchase?
Um,
I'll drop it in the chat just so you
well,
could read it.
no, okay, I see it. No, the purchase cost is the same. The, I'm very careful with tax advice because it's very specific to where you're from, where your residence is, how you bought the property, etc., or how much you sell it. But you pay a tax on the capital gains of the property. Yeah. Now that tax will depend on your residency or not residency situation. It's different. We can run the numbers on a specific case, but then we prefer that you do that with one of the tax advisors we work with, because if I give you a number now and then your situation is different, there is no general answer to it. So I need to be careful there.
Okay,
Um,
good to know. And anything you can touch on how capital gains works in that same scenario, typically? That is what Matt asked after Andre asked that question.
Yeah. No, so normally they look at, again, residency impacts here, but it's not just sales price versus purchase price. That would be the easy logic calculation, but it's actually purchase price plus purchase costs, right? Versus sales price minus sales costs, including amortizations and depreciations, etc., if there are. And it's on that difference that the taxing might apply then. Okay, it can be zero, huh? So it depends if in 3 years, depends how the market behaves. So the big capital gains are paid by people who bought a property or inherited a property 30 years ago and sell now. They're hit hard. But if you do this on within the medium term, 5, 10 years, it's normally not very big numbers.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another person asking, hi, can a property be bought under a company name?
Yeah, no problem at all. It's part of the preparation as well. You will need a few additional administrative things, like a company registration number here, etc., which are things we can help you with. Um, some people decide to do that, and it's for most people it's a fiscal question, right? Where is the money today? So if you're a freelancer, if you're in business, if all the money sits in your business in the legal entity, and it's a higher cost to first move it to your own personal accounts and then buy a property in a personal name. So some people decide to buy it in the company's name. You can then deduce costs, of course, and some people even did use then travel costs to come and visit the property. So there is more options, perfectly possible. Feasibility or to decide if it's meaningful, that you will need a fiscal advisor here and probably one in the US as well to check those things.
Okay, I think we're just going to have two more questions and then we will head off and wrap up. Um, Diana asks, are there wheelchair accessible places to buy or with ramps, making it easy to walk with a walker?
Yes, yes. Not all of them, of course, but we have customers like that. They have wheelchair requirements and etc. No problem. There is actually in the homeowner associations, some of them, they are making an effort to improve accessibility of properties. So having like a ramp or electric elevator or lift, how do you call it?
Yeah.
Where
We
for
call it
individuals.
elevator in the
Yeah,
US.
elevator. I was right. So yeah, it depends. What does it mean? It will impact. I mean, if you want you want exactly the same property without those features, you will have that number of properties. If you want the property with those accessibility features, you will have a smaller number of properties, meaning you might need more time to find the right one, and but yes, they exist.
Awesome. Last question. Let me see here. One second. Yeah, it's funny about the words when we move to Europe, there's a bunch of words that we have to start
Yeah.
saying, such as flat, it's the England English. Um, so okay, Sandra, I'll take this as the last question. So you do both, right? Finding properties for buyers. Do you also help with finding really good rentals until they get a feel for the region? She specifically is looking for a rental home that has a fenced yard since she has several dogs.
Mhm. Yeah, so when you work with Inspire, you access our network. We try to help, and there's a lot of people, quite some people who certainly those who buy a property that needs an upgrade, needs a new kitchen, new bathroom, so they need temporary accommodation. Whether they're residents or not, it doesn't change. And we don't do this ourselves. Because I said I believe a lot in specialization, and we want to we do this for our own properties. We tested it years ago to offer this service to customers, and then we said, well, this is different because you need to built a machine, a rental machine that works 24/7 with handyman, etc., all availability. We decided not to build that machine, but we partner with a very good company who is specialized in those type of rentals, uh, temp rentals specifically, in English speaking, and that's normally what we do. We refer you, refer you to them, and, and we help you with all the rest.
Nice. Well, everybody, I dropped the link again. We have our free gift, which is basically fill out the form and you will be able to create your buyer's wish list for those that are very serious about purchasing in the Barcelona area in Catalonia. And then you will be able to potentially have a call with Rolf, 30-minute call. Rolf, we thank you so, so much for your time. We learned all so much. If everybody can join me in doing a little virtual applause. These are our little applause hands. Go ahead and put those in the chat. And I know a lot of people are about to move to Spain. I tried to get to all the questions, so thank you so, so much.
Mm,
Once you fill out the form, Raf will get in touch with you. And
yeah.
super excited for you guys.
Yeah.
And just kind of like to leave everybody off with I guess some words of inspiration. I would just say, I know that the process seems overwhelming, especially with the other pieces, which visas, moving, selling all of your things back home. It is overwhelming, but when you can equip yourself with teams or with people that have done this before, it's going to take a weight off your shoulders. I mean, you're being resourceful by coming here on this webinar. You're making your life easier. So I would just say continue to do that. Keep learning from people, keep asking questions because I personally think we can't do anything by ourselves. So I just want to say thank you, Raf, and I hope all of you will get in touch with Raf.
Yeah. But maybe one final reflection here.
Yes.
Think about it. Buying a property is, even if you buy a property in the US, it can be challenging. Yeah? Because the market is fast as well. There is competition. You need so it's also challenging. It's more challenging abroad, of course. But we've done this so many times. So if we believe that it's not realistic, or if we see bottlenecks, problems in the process, because we can foresee a process, we can map it out basically after first conversation. If you think it might not work, we will tell you, because I've got no interest in starting with a buyer and then after 2 months not finding a property and having a frustrated. I want happy customers, not frustrated customers. So we're going to be very transparent from start. If you think it's too complex or not realistic, basically, we'll tell you.
Right. I like it. The honesty is next level, which I love. Well, thank you, Rolf, and I'm excited for all of you that filled out the form, and we will be sending a follow-up email too if you didn't get that form to fill out, as well as
Wonderful.
the replay. So, Rolf, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Thank you so, so much, and we'll see you soon.
Oh, I received some forms already, I see. Very good.
Awesome. Cool, cool, cool. Great,
I
great,
will I
great.
will I will handle them first in, first out.
Perfect. I like that
Yeah.
method. Okay, thank you, Rolf. See you soon,
Thank you very
okay?
much.
Okay,
Have a good
bye-bye.
day, everyone. Bye
Have a
bye.
good day,
Thank you for
everybody.
joining.